Oh, I don't, well, you could, I guess you could see my yoga. You could see my yoga mat.
Everything looks great.
How about that?
That looks perfect. Great. Okay, cool. Thanks so much for chatting with us, Johanna. You are just about to graduate, or actually you have graduated, and I wanted to just chat with you a little bit about your experience so other people can kind of have a better idea of what it's like to work with me, because you and I have, we met twice kind of randomly in person, but for the most part, we worked on Zoom. And
right.
yeah, so if you wouldn't mind just telling us why you called me, why did you want to work together in the first place?
Sure. So I think, well, first of all, I have such deep respect for you and your gift. And we've known each other for a very long time. And, you know, ever since we met when you were a teacher at Bikram Yoga Union Square, I took your classes and I always felt like you had this amazing gift, talent, ability to be able to look at a body. And this was, I don't know, 11, 12, 15 years ago. So even back then, you had this amazing gift to be able to look at a body and be able to assess it in a matter of minutes just by what you saw. And from there, I knew that you had this special talent that I was so happy to see you cultivate over time in those 12 to 15 years that we've known each other. And so you were on my mind because when I called you, I was at a point in my life where I was practicing yoga, and in the end, ultimately, the yoga practice was hurting me. It was aggravating an injury that I had had for some time, I would say about 3 or 4 years. And it was a nagging hip and glute pain in my left side. And no matter how much yoga I did, it just got worse. And so this idea that yoga was a healing practice, I think continues to be true, but I think I was doing something where I was hurting myself continuously, repetitively. And so that's why this pain wasn't going away. And when I knew I was doing something wrong, but I couldn't quite figure out what or how, I knew to call you. And that's really why I came to your door. I was in pain that became unsustainable after a while. I couldn't, it just was nagging. It was a constant nagging pain that just wouldn't go away. And it was enough that it wasn't so painful that I couldn't live my life, but it was enough that it just continued to nag me. And I knew that life didn't have to be lived this way. So that's why I called you. And and we worked through it tremendously in the last year.
Yeah. Do you remember? So you and I have been working together for a year because while change, I believe change happens really quickly, right? Especially when you're on the right path. To really establish full alignment, to understand the full connections, to understand how to feel it fully in the body and the brain and the mind, all that connection really does take about a year. We've been working together. You're pretty much right on time, right? Right about a year. You're like, I got this, right? But do you remember, Johanna, when we first started working, about how long it took for the pain to go away?
Almost immediately, I would say. So if my nagging pain was on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being the most painful, I would say it was probably at a 5. And I think after our first 2 or 3 sessions, that 5 went down to a 4. And that may be a 1 number incremental down. That still is tremendous when you're feeling it in your body after 3 sessions for an hour. Whereas I was feeling this pain for 5 years. So it was just feeling that immediate relief made me know that right away I was going to come back I was on the right track, that I was going to come back to heal my body with your help and your guidance. So yeah, pretty immediate.
Great. And how is your hip now?
It feels really good. And I think when it doesn't feel good, when that threshold of pain reaches a 1 or, even a 2, it's because I don't move, and it's because I'm not using the muscles that I'm supposed to be using because I live a very sedentary life, right? I'm working in an office and I'm sitting most of the day. And so when I'm not moving my body reminds me, you haven't moved me today. So I'm gonna, bring up this level of pain by 1 to remind you that here I am, you need to pay me some attention.
Yeah. And the most important thing is, so when you do feel that, do you know what to do?
I do, thanks to your help and thanks to, all the work that we've done in the last year. It's, we have focused not just on the physical, but the emotional and the mental all together because they're connected. And so I work on the physical, and then I take a moment to, of course, check the mental and the emotional as well. Mm-hmm. So I've had chronic pain for a long time, ever since I was a teenager. I've had knee surgery on my right knee since I was a teenager. So, and I'm in my mid-40s now. And in those 30 years, I've come to accept that pain is a gift, because it has created a hyper-awareness in my life and in my body and in how I behave and in how I act. And the pain is a reminder that I'm not doing something quite right and I need to address it. Right. And so that's been tremendously helpful, being able to address it correctly. Yeah. And know how to address it, thanks to your help.
Good. Well, so, the fun part though about this kind of therapy that I do is it's not just physical, right? And so part of the problem, or part of what got you into that predicament, was not just doing yoga, but kind of like a kind of approach to life. Mm-hmm. that we kind of made a slight little shift. Do you mind talking a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. So I came to you not just in a place in my life where I was experiencing physical pain. Mm-hmm. And when I came to you a year ago, I also came to you at a point in my life where I was nursing myself back to health from professional burnout. And I had suffered from burnout, for, I would say it had been increasing for several years. And by the time it hit its peak, it was around November 2019. And I came to you in the spring of 2021, and I was really trying to heal myself from having gone through this professional burnout that left me emotionally and mentally empty in my gas tank. And so we talked a lot in the last year about sort of the sources of that professional burnout, and also the reasons why I experienced that. And that's really because I am a type A, go-getter, perfectionist person who is really hard on myself, has a very hard time, and I'm learning, and it's been a continuous journey, has a very hard time being kind to myself and compassionate to myself, and loving the imperfect parts of myself. This also was coincidental with having given birth about 5 years ago. So I went through a huge physical, mental, and emotional shift, going from someone who did not have a child to becoming a mother, in conjunction with this emotional and mental, zero tank from this professional burnout. So a lot of that came through in the work that we did together as well. And so we've had to address some of those things. A lot of the perfectionist type A personality, I've learned to sort of tweak and be more compassionate to myself about. And frankly, you helped me tremendously from my really difficult postpartum experience that I had after having given birth. I was hurt from the experience and I couldn't get past it, even though I tried. And we worked together in helping me heal from that and seeing myself, you know, made whole from that and made powerful from the experience, as opposed to how I saw myself previously, which was like a victim. So this all coincided with the hip pain. So I think, you know, going back to what we were saying before, everything's connected. So I was in a bit of an emotional and mental mess too.
It always happens that way. You know, we try to push past the pain. We're like, I can handle it. And so we just keep pushing ourselves emotionally and physically. And so yeah, that was a really powerful time. Those were a few weeks of talking about that. And you just really, you definitely reframed that experience and just moved right past. There were some other experiences that we had fun reframing too, right? Like what comes to mind is I really love the woodpecker story and how it came around full circle. Do you mind talking about that? Do you remember that?
Sure. So what I love about spring, and as a practicing Catholic, this is the season of Lent, which culminates in Easter. And for Easter, for those of us who believe, is a moment of rebirth. And what I love about Lent is that you prepare yourself for this rebirth. And I think, you know, on a deeper spiritual existential level, I love that I came to you in that season of Lent, and that we are now going through the season of Lent 1 year later, because in many ways I feel reborn, having gone through what we've been through, and myself and the kind of work that I've done. So this relates to the woodpecker story, because early on in our work, I had gone for a walk, and you had given me homework that day, and or for the week, and you said to me, you know, I want you to listen to your higher self, and you follow where you think you're being called. And so in the example of the walk, you said, which way are we going to go, left or right? And then I take a moment to pause and be intentional about my decision. And then I follow my instincts, which is the higher self that we talked about. So I did this walk. And when I actually walked out the door, it was actually pretty easy, because immediately I heard this very loud noise. And I said to myself, what is that? And I just wanted to figure out what it was, because it was so loud. It was just incredible. And I'd never heard that noise before. And so that's what I wanted to do. That was what my higher self wanted to answer. What is that sound? So
tapping into your gut, right? This was part of that practice. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And in some ways it was a call. It was this very loud tapping sound. And I was like, what is that? I've never heard that before. I really want to figure out where that's coming from and what is causing this noise. And I used my senses, and it didn't take me far. It was probably a block away from my house. I found the source of the noise, and it was this woodpecker, a young woodpecker, because I could still tell the new feathers were on its body. And it was on an electrical pole, and it was tapping not on the wooden part of the electrical pole, but the plastic part of the electrical pole. And it was making this sound that was echoing throughout the neighborhood. And I looked at it and I was like, oh, you sweet woodpecker, you're so new. You're maybe trying to figure out that this is the sound you're supposed to make, or this is what you're supposed to do, because that's what you're called to do. This is what your body's made to do. But that's not quite wood that you're pecking. And maybe you're in the process of figuring that out, and good luck to you. And then I walked away. But it was really interesting, because I sort of said to myself, that poor woodpecker is pecking at this thing that's not wood. It's almost like wood, but it's not quite what it's supposed to be pecking at. And then the following week, we talked about this encounter, and you had said to me, you are the woodpecker. because in many ways and you're right, I did feel like I was, because in many ways I felt like I thought I was doing the right thing. And I thought I was doing the thing that was going to help me heal me from my physical, emotional, and mental stress. And I wasn't quite getting it. It seemed right on my own, but it wasn't quite it, even though it felt kind of right.
Mhm.
So I will never forget the words that you used. You said, we just need to tweak it. We just need to tweak the work that you're doing just a little bit, because you're almost there. You're like 90% there. You just need this 10% tweak. And once we get the 10% tweak, you got it. And in the same way that the woodpecker could just take that 10%, move over and hit its beak on the wood instead of a little plastic.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's the story of the woodpecker. And and then to cover full circle, right? So 1 year later, literally a week or two ago, when we were talking, I said to you, I was working here in this office and I heard a woodpecker, and I stopped because it was loud. And I said, oh, there's a woodpecker, and it is pecking at something correctly. It's pecking at wood because it sounds correct, what it's pecking at. And then when we talked again, you said, there you are again. But this time, a year later, pecking at the right thing. So the woodpecker was a metaphor and was me.
Yeah. It's like, you're the woodpecker, because we had just talked about that you're good to fly on your own. You know, you've got this. I'm here when you need me. But it was just so perfect. Like a year later, you are the woodpecker, and you got it for sure. For sure.
Exactly.
What are some of did anything surprise you that, like, in our treatment? I know you probably thought you were just coming for hip. And then we really delved into so much more. Was there anything about it that surprised you? Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm relearning this, or I'm talking about this.
Yeah. You know, it's one thing when you know something abstractly and also believe it. And you know, I am a believer of everything being connected. I know that everything is connected. Our mental and our physical and our emotional health are all connected. And I always knew that. And yet at the same time, the work that we did, it was a really hands-on chance to live through that connection, as opposed to it just being in your head and an idea. It was really an opportunity to roll up my sleeves and to do work that is required for shifts and change. And it's not just mental, it's also emotional and physical work. So I think that surprised me, because even though I knew it on a rational level, and even though I knew it in my heart, that I had to work through it. And that was still a surprise, I guess. And I think that's true every time. Going back to my knee, I knew that some of the nagging pain that I've had was deeply rooted, or has been around for a long time. And to work through the source of that surprised me as well. I thought I was just coming from my hip, even though I knew the hip was connected to glutes and other parts of my body. But it was my left glute bothering me, and my long-standing knee pain was on my right side. But again, it shouldn't surprise me. The body is one big muscle comprised of smaller muscles. So again, everything is connected. And towards the end of our time together, we addressed the long ago injury and pain that I've been experiencing with my right knee. And I've had to relearn how to walk again properly. I've had to relearn how to go downstairs and upstairs again properly. And this is something that I've been doing improperly for 30 years. So that was surprising and cool at the same time, because I don't want to have to do this again for another 30 years. I want to get it right now. Yeah. And be healthy for the next 30, 40, 50, however long I'm on this earth for.
Yeah. Awesome. And so, how about with the yoga? Was it fun? Because you've been practicing and teaching yoga for a while. Was it fun to go through the yoga? Did you still learn stuff?
Absolutely. And, I know we've talked a little bit about this as teachers. I feel like, as teachers, first of all, we're all students to start. And so there's always something to learn. And I feel like if a teacher out there feels like he or she knows everything, I would not recommend going to that teacher because there is always something to learn. So anyway, I feel that in the yoga practice, everything that you've taught me from one of the very first things that we learned or that I had to relearn was breathing properly and using my core. And I think I just want to take a moment here to just say part of the reason why I also wanted to work with you was I liked your philosophy of, you want to empower me to heal my body. You don't need to see me forever. I don't need to see you forever. You want to give me the tools to be able to have a sharpened toolkit that I can use as I live my life. And if the tools over time get dull, that I can come visit you again and we can sharpen them together and then off I go again. So I think that's what I really loved about our time together and your philosophy when you guide a client and someone. And I think what I also love about the work and the philosophy that you have is we break it down and we start at the very basics, at the foundation and at the core. And that is absolutely important to me because if you don't have a strong foundation, then it's an unstable everything after that you try to build upon. So the breath work and really using my core muscles, knowing even where they are, how to find them, how to access them, how to engage them, was really tremendously powerful and changed the whole entire yoga practice for me. And also just how I live my life, how I walk. I know we talked a lot about how I tend to be heavy. I tend to, even in my practice, just sort of let myself flop and I don't lift myself up. And that comes from a place of using the core and using the breath properly. So just by teaching me how to do that has transformed my yoga practice tremendously.
Awesome. That's good. That's exactly what I want for sure. And you feel like now you have a good understanding of it. And if we go through periods of life where we're more active and less active, do you feel like now if you notice like, oh, my core is getting a little weak, I've been sitting a little too much, do you feel like you can bring yourself back on track now?
Yes, absolutely. With confidence, not just feeling and knowing it, but doing it confidently. Like I feel like you've taught me the fundamental concepts and that also we've practiced those concepts enough times. And when there were things, what I really loved in the time that we had together, when there are things that I couldn't grasp, you were patient and not judgmental about the things that I couldn't grasp. And you took the time to explain. And we focused on those things. And just like an iron going over a wrinkle on a shirt, we went over the parts that were really difficult for me to grasp in that moment, or just something that my body had to relearn. And in the rewiring process between mind and body took time. And you and I worked on focusing on those areas. And that was fantastic. Because I think for me, what I've also learned, having been a previously type A person and a go kind of person, it's more important for me now to slow down and be intentional about everything that I do. And that includes my movement, right? So how do I move my body? How do I breathe through movement is so important to me because I do want to make sure that I'm doing something correctly and not injuring myself. And also just being aware of this moment in time. We move through life most of the time like zombies, and I just don't want to live my life like that anymore. And so being intentionally aware of the present moment has been a great outcome of this time together. It's been, it's been a great way to, I guess the best way to describe it is I know now if I feel out of whack, or I feel like I'm starting to get out of whack, or I'm starting to get anxious or starting to get stressed, I know how to center myself again. I know how to pause. And even before pausing, I know how to recognize when something is starting to stress me out or freak me out. And then I make a choice. Do I go down that train? Do I ride that train? Or do I intentionally stop and try to mitigate that anxiety? And that has been incredibly powerful, but that requires being able to live in the moment. So that is based on breath, I think.
100%. And also just, kind of shifting gears. You had been in a very high stress, high pace job for a long time. And then, when we're in the midst of burnout, like you were, it's not just confined to the workplace that things are out of balance and out of whack. It's everywhere. It's home, it's health, obviously. And one of the best moments of our time was, I love that one day, about a month and a half or 2 months after we started working together, you sent me a picture of you with your daughter, and you said that I can barely even recognize myself. I look so happy and calm now. Do you remember that?
Absolutely, I do. And I actually, I'm getting a little emotional now that you are telling that story, because my husband took that picture of me and my daughter, and when he showed it to me on his phone, my eyes look different. And there's a reason why we say the eyes are the windows to the soul, right? My eyes looked, I guess, prior to that picture and prior to the work that we were doing, I think there was an emptiness. There was an emptiness in my eyes. And if you looked at that woman in those pictures with empty eyes, it was just someone who was just trying to survive, just trying to hold on, just trying to keep everything together. And it was a woman who was running on fumes. And that picture that I saw and that I sent to you was not that woman at all. It was a woman, as you said, whose eyes reflected peace and acceptance, and someone who just doesn't need to have to hang on so tightly. And was someone who was regaining my sense of, power and understanding of how I could heal myself.
Great. And how's work now? How's your burnout? How do you feel with work?
I feel great. And I think it's partly because a lot of the work that we've done is, what do I want? What do I want from my life? What do I want from the work that I am doing? And I actually just talked to a friend recently who I said to her, I want a calm, content, peaceful life. I do not need drama. I do not need, I don't need crazy excitement. I don't need crazy. I don't need any of the, the things that we allow ourselves to descend into when we try to, go get something or try to be successful in our jobs or our careers. I'm not interested in that anymore. I'm just more interested in, how can I contribute? How can I make a difference? And how can I maintain my peace and calm while doing this and still have fun? Because I think that was the other thing that you and I have worked on a lot, right? Type A personality, that person does not have room for fun.
Yeah. There's too much to do.
Yeah, there's too much to do. No time for fun. So I think the other big thing that I have been telling myself is, how much fun am I going to have? What kind of fun am I going to have? What adventure am I going to go on today? Right? So that is a question that I ask myself. So with work, there has been so much that has destabilized the team that I am a part of. And I'll never forget one of the questions you asked me during one of our sessions was, are you feeling destabilized too? Are you descending into, do you feel like you need to descend into the emotions that your other teammates are feeling? And I said to you, nope, I don't. And it was so empowering to be able to say that. And not only say that, believe it, and not only believe it, more importantly, feel it. I did not feel it whatsoever. And I think part of that is because I'm not interested in that anymore. And so I've learned to be intentional about my day. And part of the things that we were working on is, how do I set myself up for a successful day? And that is by meditating, by taking moments to think about, and I close my eyes and I do it now. How do I want to feel today? What do I want to feel today? I want to feel joy. I want to feel peace. I want to feel calm. I want to feel fun. I want to feel happy. And just by doing that for the day definitely has made a difference.
Yeah.
So no burnout. And it's messy at work. And I'm a consultant. I'm free and I feel free. And I've always said that to you with my job. And I feel like whatever work I'm doing after this particular engagement, I want to continue to feel free. I want to feel I have the flexibility to live a balanced, happy, content life while still being able to provide for my family, and at the same time being happy and feeling at peace. So work has been totally fine, and I'm not allowing it to ruin my peace.
Exactly. It's been really great. So, you sound so like you have it all figured out, and you really do. You really, now you really have a great way of navigating all the situations. More and more you're getting, we talk a lot about energy and having an energetic and aligned perspective. And so it's been really fun over the years, just like over the year, thinking about all the situations that we kind of navigated together to try to find just like the right approach, like changing jobs and, time lack, kind of managing this, feeling stressed over time. It's been really wonderful to go through this with you. But it's interesting, and I think this might be the last thing to talk about, but I do talk a lot about energy in this like a scientific perspective, and in fact your husband is a physicist, so you are no stranger to science, but you also have a very strong faith. And it is not my faith exactly, but it's been really fun to be able to bridge the gap, to talk about energy and how it really is compatible, right? It's been compatible with your faith. It's nothing has rubbed you the wrong way, right? Were you surprised about that? Was that fun for you too? It was fun for me.
Yeah, it's funny because when we first started working together, I did talk about that. And you did ask me, you said, is this going to go against, your faith and your faith practice and what you believe in? And I said no. And I think for me, and again, I can't speak for anybody else, I can only speak for myself. In my own particular faith journey, I have gone towards the belief that we are all connected and that we're here for a purpose and we're here to make a contribution to the world. And at the same time, feel contented because we are meant to be we're meant to be our best selves, because if we can't be our best selves, we can't make that contribution to the world. And that's where I was in my faith journey when I worked with you. And so I think because I was where I was in my own faith journey, to have these conversations about energy and shifting the perspective of feeling and feeling good, what feels good, has not been a problem for me. It's actually been in alignment for me. And yeah, it's been joyful. And I think the other story that I know I mentioned to you, and I would love to share, is there was this intense period when I was interviewing for a job. And you know, we went through a couple sessions, and before the second round interviews, I went for a walk. And it was about 20 minutes. I walked in our park, and we had a session that morning. And the takeaway from our session was, I'm going to have fun. I'm just going to have fun. We're going to have fun. We're going to have a conversation. We're going to talk about the area, the sector in which I work, the problems, the challenges, and the work that we do to help overcome those challenges. And that's fun because I really love figuring out what the answers are to those challenges. So there was so much in my walk when I was walking, I was focused so much on having fun, having a fun conversation.
Within the interview.
For the interview, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
That was going to happen in 15 minutes or so. As I was walking out of my park, and there's a bus stop at the entrance of the park, and this bus pulled away from the stop, and it made its turn. And as it made its turn, I saw the back of the bus, and on the back of the bus was a huge sign that said Funtopia USA. And it was an ad on the back of a bus. And I burst out laughing because the entire 20 minutes I was focusing on having fun. And the universe responded to me and said, I am going to show you an ad on a bus that says Funtopia USA, because I'm going to reinforce the idea that you are going to have fun. And you know, it's funny, every bus, because I live on a street that is a bus route, every bus that drives by, I look on the back to see if there's even an ad on the back of a New York City bus. And I would say 95% of the time, there is no ad. And it just so happened that that day, there was an ad on the back of a bus, which is
that ad was for you, girl. That was for you. That was a message.
It was for me. And so it's just another example.
How was the interview?
And the interview was fun. We laughed. We had a great time. And I had, you know, just moments of laughter and moments of deep engagement where the three of us talked a lot about what could be solved in the work that we would do together if I were to be hired. So yeah, it was fun. It was definitely very fun.
That's awesome. So what would you say, so now looking back, so it's been a year, I would say probably we saw each other twice a week for probably 2 months, would you say?
Mm-hmm.
And then we dropped down to once a week.
Mm-hmm.
If you were just kind of to look back over the whole thing, do you have, is there a feeling or something that overcompasses kind of the whole thing? This is a tough question. I know, I'm sorry. But
yeah, no, just this journey. I guess this is my best way to describe it. And the journey is incremental in the sense that we work on one brick at a time, right? To rebuild the foundation. The foundation was a mess to begin with. And so in many ways, it was like this construction project. And just like any construction project, it doesn't happen overnight. It happens over time. And I feel like the overall feeling that I had was, we're just taking this one brick and we're going to pick it up and then we're going to put it here. But in the process of picking it up and putting it here where it belongs, that might take some time because we're trying to do it the correct way. And each step, you know, some steps were easier than others. Other steps took longer to either figure out or overcome or shift my perspective. And you were always patient, regardless of where I was. But I think, to me, the time that we spent together is this journey, and it's just been super fun, really.
Yeah.
And to look back and look at myself a year ago and compare her to me to today, it's been someone that I simultaneously recognize and don't recognize. And I think that's ultimately what we're trying to achieve as we try to evolve, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Johanna, for chatting with me. And if you have any parting words for anyone who's thinking about maybe doing this, anything you would tell them?
Sure. I would say you have to be willing to put the work in. You have to be ready, because as we've once talked, and whoever is watching this, whoever's on the fence, Corinne, you are one of the most gifted people I've ever met in terms of helping someone heal. And at the same time, the person who you're working with has to do the work, right? You can't do the work for this person. So I think for anyone who is watching this, Corinne is the real deal. Definitely work with her. And at the same time, recognize that it's you. She is your guide. She is the person who will help you find your way, but you are the person who has to cross the threshold. You are the person who has to do the actual work. You are the person who actually has to be open to what she is encouraging you to do or encouraging you to think. So it's a partnership, and it won't work if one person is only doing it. So yeah, those are my parting words, and you won't regret it. If you're ready to do the work and you partner with Corinne, you will find this tremendous shift, and you will see that your life in all its aspects change for the better. And as I said, you will recognize yourself while simultaneously not recognize yourself. And that's super powerful.
It's really
cool.
And
you can do it all on your own.
Yeah. And how was it on Zoom? Okay. Did you miss being in person?
No, it was actually great. It worked out just fine. Again, because you have such a gift. I've always known you, to be able to watch a body. It doesn't matter if it's live or on Zoom. You are on point no matter what. You can detect what is going on, as long as you have a clear picture of the body part that you need to look at. So that's been completely fine. The one time we did meet was when you were showing me how to breathe using my core and where to find those muscles. And I think having that in-person meeting was super helpful to be able to find the muscles that I didn't know how to find. So having that tactile experience that time was helpful, but otherwise, all completely through Zoom was perfect.
Great. Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Joanna. It was so nice to see you. And I'm going to miss seeing you every week, but I'm here and I know that we will absolutely chat. And I'm happy that you're feeling better and you are definitely going to rock it, girl.
Well, it's all thanks to your help. And thank you so much for letting me have the chance to talk and share my story. And I hope if it helps anybody, I'm happy to provide that. So yes, and I'm so happy that we work together, and
Me too.
It's been something that I've been wanting to do. And I know you and I have talked and said, when the right time is, then it will be, and it was. So
Yep.
Yeah,
And here
so thank you.
girl. Yeah. Okay, well, I will see you later. I'll chat with you later. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Enjoy your life. Okay.
Take care. Bye.